say, darling?
Yes.
And didn't Nancy look well?
Yes, it's nice to see some color finally return to the complexion.
Yes, poor girl. It's been a long, hard road for her, hasn't it?
Yes.
Something the matter, dear? You were very quiet on the ride home tonight.
I just needed some time to think
About what?
about things discussed in private.
With whom?
Nancy?
Oh,
Yes, while you and Hank were having cigars in the den, Nancy and I had ourselves a very nice chat in the parlor.
and what did you two lovely ladies discuss?
You?
Me?
Yes? And I have to say it turned out to be the most enlightening conversation, full of revelations.
Revelations of what sort?
The most scandalous, of course.
Of course. What else would two women discuss when alone? Certainly not politics.
If I wanted to discuss politics, I could, Henry. But since I was not allowed to join you and Hank in the den, I had no choice but to talk idle gossip with Nancy.
I'm sorry, dear. It's just that Hank is the old-fashioned sort. He thinks such talk bores women folk.
As I'm sure bores some menfolk as well.
Yes, Charlotte. If I had to choose, I would have preferred to have joined you and Nancy in the parlor. At least then the conversation might have been a bit more cheerful. Hank is a very dreary man at times. You're serious.
Nothing was stopping you from joining us.
Except for protocol.
Oh, protocol be damned!
Charlotte, what did you and Nancy talk about?
We had the most insightful chat, Nancy and I.
Charlotte, you were starting to worry me.
Good. Remember, I never wanted to attend that stupid dinner in the first place.
Tell me what you and Nancy talked about.
First, it was idle chit-chat between two women who have absolutely nothing in common. She's a very simple girl, Henry. I suspect it's the reason Hank married her. He didn't want a wife who was his intellectual equal, or, God forbid, his superior.
Yes. That does sound like something good old Hank wouldn't tolerate very well.
Yes, anyway, we eventually ran out of things to say. We got through the niceties pretty quickly, small talk on the weather and whatnot. And for a moment, we sat in complete silence. That's when I noticed it. Do you remember how she looked the first time we went to visit her after she lost the baby? She was always so delicate, but on that day, she was fragile, like glass. I was scared to hug her for fear she would shatter in my arms. Do you remember how she sat in her chair, so gaunt, so sunken in on herself? I swear I was looking at a corpse.
Have some compassion. She did just miscarry.
Yes, of course I remembered that. But tonight I did notice an improvement from before. She sat a bit straighter, and like I said, some color had returned to her complexion. But there was something else, something I couldn't quite put my finger on. I mean, only months ago she was severely depressed, refusing to eat or even get out of bed. So I wanted to know what had sparked this sudden return to good health. Of course, being the curious sort, and forgetting what curiosity did to the cat, I voiced my question out loud.
Charlotte.
Shh, Henry, it's quite all right. Because you see, I learned her secret. Actually, she came right out with it. She wasted no time, nor did she mince her words. She declared quite forcefully she was in love. Love had healed her, she said. Love. Can you imagine? Love. What a romantic dope.
Love? Did she say?
Well, of course I had to ask who she was in love with. I was assuming it wasn't her husband, because seriously, who can love a man like Hank? Like you mentioned, dear, he's quite dreary.
Did she say who it was?
Oh, yes, again. She came right out with it. I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't been in the room myself. The girl has absolutely no shame. No shame at all.
Charlotte, I can explain.
No need, darling. I understand completely. I am a hard woman to love. Nancy simply isn't.
No, that's not it. That's not it at all. With Nancy, things are just different. Charlotte, you're not a hard woman to love. With Nancy, love just comes so much easier.
I see.
Oh, Charlotte, I never planned for this to happen. I'd only gone over one day to visit Hank. only to discover that he was out. But Nancy was there, sitting in the parlor all alone, looking like someone who didn't have a single soul to talk to. I mean, Hank is rubbish as a husband. She has so little family, no friends really. And there she was, consumed in grief I couldn't begin to fathom, and no one to share her pain with. So I took pity on her. I only went into the parlor to give a quick hello, to inquire how she was doing. I ended up pulling out a chair in front of her, and before I knew it, an hour had gone by.
What did she say that so enticed you?
Nothing. I can't even remember what the conversation was about. I'm sure we spoke of the weather, maybe some local gossip, but the words that passed between us were of no importance.
Then what happened?
Nothing. I realized time got away from me, I left.
But you went back?
I tried not to. I love you, Charlotte. I have always loved you.
Then why?
Because I love Nancy, too. I don't know if it's possible for a man to love two women as equally as I love you and Nancy, but it must be possible, for I find myself a man equally in love with two women.
It's not love, Henry. It's simply selfishness.
Perhaps. I can't deny what's in my heart.
It's called restraint, Henry. You're a married man. She's a married woman. Or doesn't that matter to you?
Of course it matters.
Then you should have shown restraint. You're the one who spoke of protocol after all. And protocol dictates a man does not sleep with his friend's wife. Especially if he's a married man himself.
No, it's not like that. We haven't.
What do you mean you haven't? What's the point of an affair if sex isn't involved?
Don't be so vile, Charlotte. What happened with Nancy is so much purer than the physical.
You mean to tell me you haven't kissed her? Or caressed her face? Or run your fingers through her hair? She's not the Madonna, Henry. She's flesh and blood. And I'm sure even a simple girl like her has needs, wants, and desires.
Sometimes we go for walks, and I hold her hand.
You hold her hand like a child?
Please try to understand, Charlotte. It's a different kind of intimacy I have with Nancy. It doesn't require physical.
God, how in the hell did she bewitch you? So what does that mean about us? Does that mean our relationship is simply physical?
No, of course not. Our relationship is rich, complicated, and yes, at times, challenging.
Challenging?
Yes. You challenge me every day. But that's why I love you. I love the way you stimulate me, the way you provoke me. You have conviction, intelligence, and wit.
Don't patronize me, Henry.
You see what I'm talking about? I am trying to pay you a compliment, but you won't let me. When I say such things to Nancy, she blushes. Charlotte, I knew what kind of woman you were when I married you. And I was fine with that because I loved you, and I still love you. But sometimes it feels like I've been hitting my head against the wall. I've been trying for years to put a dent in that wall, and I have failed miserably. I thought when we got married that eventually you would let me in, but instead you have fortified that wall and refused to let me in, even just a little. With Nancy, there's just no walls.
You were always the romantic type, Henry. Maybe you and Nancy do belong together.
Maybe that's why I fell in love with you, because you're so practical and a realist, and I'm a dreamer.
You are not a dreamer, Henry. You're a damn fool. I knew that when I married you.